basic RFI process where we have the site engineer or the consultant that's on site. They can actually log an RFI using a mobile device, your phone, or a computer. They will then initiate the actual RFI. And very importantly is to link the documentation. In our case, we're going to link a live drawing or a drawing to the actual RFI, where we're going to assign the tasks to specific team members or people. And they will then have the ability to obviously approve or respond rather to the actual question that is being asked for the specific RFI or the request for information that's coming through. Then what needs to happen is we can then approve or decline that activity that's been, or the answer that has been sent through to us. And lastly, what will happen is it will then generate a report for us if it's approved, and we can then archive after that is completed and the process will end for that specific RFI. So that is what we're going to take you through. And at all times, we have clear line of sight of the complete overview of these processes and activities taking place, which is very, very important. So without further delay, what I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to jump into my platform here. And I'm just going to switch my screen sharing quickly so I can get my whole screen in. And I am going to bring up my eFlow or my Bluebeam. So I'm going to take you through the first session, or the first example is our Bluebeam review interoperability or link that we built. Now, what you're seeing on screen is Bluebeam Review. Now, Bluebeam Review is a construction or a PDF-based solution or a collaborative platform. And it's what we call a common data environment. And we're linking into what specifically we call Bluebeam projects. Now, you'll notice on the left-hand side, I've got a normal folder repository. So in this case, I am just going to go to my specific drawings that I have, and I'm going to open up my RFI drawing. So I've created a specific drawing that I need to capture information on. Now, this is a PDF. Now, why we use PDF is because it's neutral. And we can then access the information very, very easily and share this information very, very easily. So here is the drawing that I want to use as a discussion or request for information. I am then going to activate it so that I can actually put information inside of this drawing. So this is stored centrally, so my whole project team can actually access this file. I'm going to go to my Bluebeam tool set, which is really important, and I've got a tool set up to go and log this RFI. So I'm going to go 031 because that is just the RFI that I've got in my system. We've tested it 31 times to make sure prior to today that everything is working 100%. So I can now drop that RFI on there so that I can attract attention to this. I can put comments further on here, and you can draw on here further if you choose to do so using the markup tools and information that you want the other person to help you to resolve this RFI. What I'm then simply going to do is I'm going to just submit it back into the actual common data environment. So I'm just uploading it back into that folder repository, like I said earlier, so that you can have access to it within that. Now, the great thing about Bluebeam and eFlow specifically is I don't need to jump between applications. I don't need to now go out and open up eFlow. I can actually go and just open up the web tab, and I've preset this up so that it immediately opens up in my eFlow platform. Now, currently you will see that I'm looking at my task list and I have no tasks assigned to me. So great, I've got no work actually then to do. So when you do get a task, or when you initiate a task and you're the overviewer or the overseer, you will see all the relevant tasks that's there. And if you are the individual on the other end, you will then receive your tasks here, and you can see which tasks you need to address. If they're not visible here at the moment, it might be that they are resolved or closed, but you can always go back and into the history to see what tasks you have completed. So right off the bat, taking the role on as the project engineer that has just activated an RFI on my drawing, I can now go and I'm going to say, I want to open an RFI. Now, very important, if I click here, you'll notice I only have one process currently sitting here. Very boring. But you can have all your processes and activities that you want to initiate here. It might be a QA QC that you need to, a report that you need to generate. It might be some approval that you need to get from one of the project team members. You can set up all these processes here and you can initiate them very easily from here. So for I'm going to start the RFI process. It is going to initiate. And you will see that it opens up a digital form format for me here. Now, very important to mention is that currently my project number is set to 0. Now, I don't have it linked to a project database yet. Now, what typically we want, now I've got to put in a manual project number there, but what we typically want to do is link this to an existing database that you have where all your project numbers are stored. So that field will automatically populate for that respective project person that's assigned to that project. So you don't see 1,000 projects here. You only see the projects that you are currently in management of and have to launch RFIs towards. Then automatically, sequentially, it will automatically do the RFI counter for us. As you can see that I'm on RFI 31. Hopefully none of your projects ever have 31 RFIs. But for the first RFI, it would be RFI 1. The next one will be 2, and it will then automatically continue on for our record purposes. Then the initiation date will be today because I'm currently actually setting it up. So that is also an automated field. So I don't need to worry about it or think about it. Now, because I'm signed into my eFlow platform and I am the initiator where I'm using it through my platform, my name will show up there. So I am the person that's initiating this. I can now go and I can then assign this to either a project team or individual users that's assigned in my project. So we preload the system and link it to your project contacts. And we can then group and sort and set up those individuals or groups of people, depending on what process you want to do, very easily. So you can then select who you need to send this out to. Now, for the purposes of this exercise, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to choose, RDS Ops here. Now, it will send a notification to RDS Ops, but when I show it, it will just be me because I'm seeing the overview of every activity that's taking place because I initiated it. So when we look at the drawing, remember I marked that column there. So our RFI specifically could be, I can ask, what is the size of the column and what cladding is needed? And I can use my wonderful, there we go. And I can now go and specify when do you require the information by. Very important. We got to give these guys a deadline. So I'm going to say today is Tuesday. I need this information by Friday. So they have at least a couple of days to respond to my RFI. Now, here's the great thing about eFlow and how we can integrate it within Bluebeam specifically. Every single document that we are viewing within the common data environment actually has a path associated to it. So I can copy that path and link that drawing to my actual RFI request. I can also, if need be, have documents attached to this, and if I'm standing on site and I've taken photos of a respective issue or something like that, I can attach these photos right away to this RFI as well. Once I'm happy with the information, I then generate or create the RFI request. It will then generate that RFI request. Now, mine's going to be instantaneous because, again, as I mentioned, although I'm initiating it, I'm also domain administrator of this, so I can see exactly what is happening with that respective ticket. Now, very important, I'm going to pause it, and I'm not sure if you can see my right-hand bottom of my side, but there is a message that just popped in that notified me from the project manager that you've just had an incoming RFI, which is RFI 31 for project 639 ABC. So if I jump to my emails, you will see that I've now received an email notification instantaneously. It says, "Dear Mr. Nick Erasmus, you've just received RFI 031 from project 639 ABC. Please reply to the requested information on or before the 26/06/2020. Now, very importantly, mine is very generic. We can write and customize this message to your needs. You can put anything you want. We are dealing with some clients where we're working in various regions. It can be translated in different languages, for the Middle East. Operations, we can have an English message and an Arabic message. For our partners and friends and clients in Russia, same story. We can set up this notification email completely how you want it. So that is very, very important to emphasize that. We then have that link automatically. Now you'll notice that the ticket under my tasks list, so if I was on the RDS, you will see that the initiator was myself, but it's now been sent to RDS Ops in this regard. And currently the status is open. And we can see that the description, there's a new RFI and it's 031. And again, we can add on next to it here, for a bit more clarity, we can add the project number or the project description. So on a glance, you can immediately see what RFIs are from which project, and you can quickly address them. So now I'm putting on the other cap, and I'm putting on the RDS Ops, or I'm putting on the consultant on the other side that need to respond to my site engineer or my project manager. So I'm going to say run, and you can see here is my RFI that's been logged. So firstly, very importantly, right at the top, we have that very important link to actual visual documentation, which is so important within our construction processes. So the moment I click on go to drawing, what the system will do, it will actually access my Bluebeam platform automatically, and it will then open up that drawing seamlessly very quickly. I'm actually going to do it again. So there it's accessing the database, and what it will then do is it will take me not to the folder itself, it will actually take me directly to the drawing where that has been taking place. So we save a lot of time. Now from the responding person, or the person on the other end that needs to respond to this RFI 31, I can now from the common data environment take the information or pull this information and make this document live, and I can input information here or draw or add anything in here. Now for this purpose, just to be a bit fancy, I'm actually going to add in here a bit of a description, and I'm going to add in a three-dimensional model just to maybe describe what you want. So as the person that is on the outside and need to respond this, keeping in mind, this is one document. We have not duplicated this document at all. This is still one single source of truth document. My project manager input information, and now my rest of my design team or my responding team can input information in here as well. So they can write and further comment on things like whatever they want. They can add cladding, whatever associated to that. They can then sync this or upload this back into our common data environment so that we still deal with one drawing, not duplications of the drawings that are there. So we can then visually, very important, visually respond on the drawing with information. But the real metric sits within the actual RFI, where we can now see the history around the description of the RFI, the required by date. Now, very important to note that the receiver of this cannot change any information here. He can't change the required by date because it's locked by the initiator. We can then write a response as the person needing to respond, and we can say the column is 600 by 600 millimeters in size and is cladded in timber, whatever. Don't know, my spelling is terrible. Now we can also attach documents as the other person or as the responder. So I'm going to attach a specification. So maybe what we can do here is say see attached specification and image even. Let's put an image associated to it. So I'm going to click on the document and I am going to add in a specification maybe around the concrete, and I'm going to add in a image with respect to the paint or whatever that I have. I've just added an image so you can see. Now, very importantly, we have, as the receiver that needs to respond to this, we need to verify and authenticate and certify or approve our answer going back. So I can now go and sign this with my signature to say, as the respondee of this information, I say and commit to the information I am responding to. Once that is now sent, I'm going to just close it. You will notice that now my task list has updated. It has now been initiated by me. Still, it will not change, but you see, it is now assigned to me. And again, bottom right corner, you will see I've just received my email that's popped up that will notify me now that, dear Nick Erasmus, you've received a response to your RFI. Please review the supplied information. So now we can go and run this and we can see the response associated. There we can see the response. We can see the two documents that has been uploaded where I can view them, and it will open up in, I'm using Bluebeam, so it's my default PDF viewer. There you can see the response. I have also got the image. This is just a crack on a wall, but it could be any image and images even, not just one, that's associated to it. And what I now can do is I can now go and approve or accept the RFI or decline. Now, very important, if I go and say, please elaborate more. So I'm not happy with the actual response. I can go and I can decline this. If it's declined, it can then, you'll notice that immediately it has been reassigned to RDS Ops. Once again, they will receive an email. Now, everything will be me because I'm sending it from my platform, but you'll see that there's a new response. Now, I didn't change the required by date, but from that person that's reinitiating the response, you could change the response date because now we need to give them a bit more time to respond to our actual RFI. So once again, we can run. You can clearly see the track of what is being discussed. Please elaborate. And you can now go and say the column is 600 millimeters by 600 millimeters concrete as per spec attached, and so on. So we can then reply. Once again, you'll notice that the signature field is cleared because you have to re-approve what the information is you're applying to. So again, I can sign my credentials to this and I resubmit back to that initiator or that person. Now you'll notice that it's back. And very important, I forgot to show that, is you see that the status is now under review. It used to be open. It's now set to under review. Once again, I receive my email. So we've got full track, whatever email account you have, there's the response that's been sent through. I can now go and run this again, look at the answer provided, look at the documentation or photos or whatever has been added, and I can then go and sign this information myself, and I can accept. Now, very important, I can set this workflow up or the process up that I can now refer it for further approval. So we can customize any information or more people here. It might need to go to the QS, for instance, for the quantity survey. It might need to have a signature by the project director, or it might need another signature by a project engineer. So we can set up everything here prior to accepting the RFI solution that's here. So however and sub processes and workflows you want to add, we can add that in there. For now, we keep it very simple. I am just going to accept the RFI process. It will then, you'll notice in the back end, clear it out of my task list, and my tasks are now complete. Once again, I will then receive a notification from my emails that says, "Dear Nick Erasmus, RFI project number has been successfully completed. Please find the attached RFI for your records." Now, this is just a plain vanilla. We haven't set up any customization here, but please understand, we can create and customize this report for you to your needs, right? Be it company logos, be it what information is reflected on here. And this is the history around your RFI. The approved bodies, the actual links that's there, the status is currently closed, and the response history of all the conversations that happened with that. So the report is very, very important, and that can now be uploaded and saved to your centralized common data environment where the information can be accessed by everybody. Now, that is the integration that we do with Bluebeam and eFlow. So what I've just shown you is how seamlessly we can work from a document within Bluebeam and eFlow and link that information. Now, let's say you don't have Bluebeam, but you may be making use of what